Hi, my name is Dominic Martin,
Hello, I'm Nicola.
Hi everyone, my name is Alex.
and welcome to
Before you say I do.
Before you say I do.
Before You Say I Do.
Good night, everyone. How you doing? Welcome back. Welcome back to another video. We are continuing with our series on Before You Say I Do. And we are so excited. We have new people with us. And we like new people. Fresh ideas, fresh thoughts. So we're going to definitely take advantage of our new face, which is Alethea Matter. So before we go into that, before we go and head to the matter, we're going to just let me just remind you that the last time we were with Alex and Pastor Martin, we spoke about are we compatible, and we spoke about spiritual compatibility and also physical compatibility. Today we are speaking about courting. So Sister Lydia has something special for us, and then we're gonna engage in conversation, And yeah, let's get right into it. Let's hear the Lydia matter.
All right, thank you so much for inviting me, and I hope that the information that I present is beneficial and you gather something from it. It's not going to be lengthy, and I'd like you to interject and ask questions at any point. You can stop me if you feel like that's fine. If you need clarification, you don't understand, and I can try my best to answer you as best as I can with the knowledge that I have acquired thus far. So I was given the topic on courtship. I always like to start with a definition. And since we are believing people of God, I take the biblical route in my presentations. So what is courtship? It's when a man and a woman prayerfully and purposely seek to determine if marriage is in God's plan for them. They are rooted in the purpose of spiritual growth and a desire to be with whom God has chosen for you. Why should you enter a courtship? If you are ready to settle down for marriage, courtship is to prepare you for the possibility of a God honoring, long life relationship in marriage. However, you should not take it lightly. Firstly, each partner has to know the will of God for their life. If one party is unsure, then it's best to seek God first. Building a relationship with God will prepare you with, building a relationship with God will enable you to deal with the challenges that may arise in marriage. Courtship is a time to discern if one partner is ready for the role that they play as husband and wife or wife. If these roles are not played before marriage, don't hope that they will be played during marriage. That simply means at that point in time of courtship, you select that one person and you say, yes, he or she will become my spouse or has the possibility of becoming the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with. You will sit, you will talk, you will observe the type of characters, the kind of personalities. If when you're down, that person can build you up. If you're having an argument or you disagree, what type of response do you get from that individual? And that's the time, that's the rules that they play. Not sexual, because we don't believe and we will not accept sex before marriage. So we're not going the sexual route. It's just personality compatibility, how we deal with one another and how we interact. Give your courtship some time. A lot of people always say, oh, you're together for so long, get married. While that is a positive thing, I personally don't believe in extended 10, 15-year courtships. Um, it's not something to be rushed. People need to take time to get to know each other, the type of people they are, make sure that your immediate family, sometimes people tend to be so much in love and you don't see negativity in people while you're supposed to be aware of them beforehand. Sometimes you overlook these things, and sometimes probably a parent, a pastor, a good meaning individual who is not biased can point out stuff to you which you may not see. And it's better to catch these things before you get married rather than when you are. I can, any questions? Am I going okay so far?
So far, so good. I want to engage Pastor Martin and Alex before you go further. So you've spoken about a lot, really, and it's a lot of information. What's your take on what has been said thus far? Let's start with you, Alex, and then I want to hear.
I think I love before I say anything, I probably want to ask a question even.
Okay.
Feel free.
So you to me, I believe that when you have entered courting is like almost like uh done deal. You have almost chosen, or you have chosen the person that you basically want to move into the idea of marriage with. Um, at what point do you I know we would say then you would have already done your fasting and you would have already done your praying and everything else. But at what point do you don't you think that you would have to know some of the things, the person's personality already from just being their friend or before courting even?
Yes, definitely. And courting just reinforces what you already know about the individual. There should not be any guessing during courting. You should by now know what makes them angry, what makes them uncomfortable, the type of individual that they are. Are they hot tempered? Do they get angry very quickly? General things about the individual and even deep seated feelings as well. There are certain things that people deal with and they tend to internalize it a lot. And if you intend to marry that person, you're supposed to know these intimate details about them. I'm not saying that they should be an open book because you can never totally know somebody during the courtship. When you live with them, probably every day, every month, you will find something new about the individual. But there are general things that you're supposed to know by now during the courting. And within yourself, you're supposed to be comfortable with the type of person that you are courting. You don't have to second guess yourself. You don't have to, because he's around, you have to act a particular way. You have to be yourself during that time. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. Um, well, I was asked what I actually thought about courting, and I would slightly go different with what you said in the sense to me my take on it is that before courting you would have already been friends with somebody for over a long period of time. So basically you would have seen the person in their best state, in their worst state. Um so we've seen all that and you've chosen that person. I don't really think there should be a long wait till marriage because there can be a long wait,
Mm-hmm.
but then to me it's not really necessary because you've been that person's friend for so long and you've seen in and out of that person, you've seen every aspect of their life in the eye of just being their friend. And most times people tend to be more raw with their friends
Mm-hmm.
than if you put a label on um courting or dating, whatever you want to name it. If you put a label, then you'd find more pretense. But just calling the person your friend, you would get to see the person in and out. So if you have gone through all that, then I don't really see a need of a long wait between courting and marriage. Although there can be a long wait, but I don't really see them.
Yeah, that is the ideal, provided that you were friends before. but that is not always the case for a lot of people. From what I know, the majority of people, basically, you know them. They're probably part of your circle. But to be your longtime buddy friend and then your feelings change towards them and you probably see them as a partner, a lot of the time that's not how it is at all. It's not that. Something that I've noticed, a lot of people marry people that were never in their radar. They never saw the individual coming at all. You knew they're there, they existed, the brother in the church, but to find yourself falling for them or having feelings for them, a lot of the time, that didn't happen. So, ideally, if he was your friend or she was your friend before, and then, you'll build your relationship to another level and get you to that, that is ideal. But for the persons who probably just met, probably in a church setting, they put you in a group or something like that, and from then you develop a liking, I like that kind of personality about this person, so let's go and see if we can build something from there, then the courting varies, the dating varies, the getting to know varies, so it varies. Your point of view is totally correct, but you also have to balance the other side of it as well.
Alrighty, lovely. I want to engage Pastor Martin. What's your take on what has been said, and what could you add to it? And I also want to touch a little bit on dating as well, because I heard that Alex is making reference to being friends and all of that. So what's your take on that?
Thanks so much, Nicola. I really like the definition that was given, a straightforward definition from a biblical perspective. That was refreshing because many times when we enter in these conversations, we sometimes can't really pinpoint what we mean when we say a specific thing. Even though we'll always have variations in terms of the difference between courting and dating and getting to know, those things will always fall on either end of the spectrum based on the conviction of the individual. However, I appreciated the definition given. That's one. Two, and what I will add to it, especially for the believer, because we, one, of course, we do not promote sex before marriage. And also, we don't promote dating in terms of the context in how the world looks at it. We should, therefore, what I like to say, form intentional relationships. And these intentional relationships have various levels and stages to which various access points are given based on the level and stage in which you reach. Therefore, it takes the I would say the unnecessary time that we normally spend during that vague area within a relationship. It lessens that time. That's one. Two, this is a question though, because it's something that Sister Martha said that stimulated my mind, is when she spoke about the roles, if the roles that you see during that courting phase is basically the roles that you'll see during the marriage. She looked at it in the context of communication. But what I want to ask are there any other roles that a couple or persons courting could perform or should perform in that courting phase in order to see how it's going to be in marriage? Are there any other roles, and if they are, is it necessary?
Definitely, there are a number of items. Money management is another key area that I would point out. A lot of marriages usually end in a lot of chaos, primarily because money and communication. That's the two major issues. So you need to look at how the individual manages their money. If you all decide to do certain things together, who makes the final decision? Is there it still boils back to communication. Do you sit and discuss things, or one person does just does stuff haphazardly. What other one? It can be the relationship that they have with their family, how they treat their parents, their brothers and sisters, the other people, the respect that they have for others. You know, if there's a disagreement, what type of backlash would the person give? Is it something positive or, and all of these things I think are very important in a marriage. If you tell them something, are you trustworthy enough to hold it? I think that's what I can think of for now. You can come up with any others?
It was more just to stimulate the discussion rather than set rules, because some may say in some settings that, listen, the for this context, the girlfriend or the boyfriend needs to fulfill husband duties or wife duties in order for me to know whether or not you're a good homemaker or you're a good provider and these type of stuff. We're taking sex out of the equation, but you may hear a person saying, well, I need to know if they know how to cook.
Yes.
So we're saying, are we saying that in the courting phases, are these roles mandatory within the courting phases, or is it just reserved, just like sex, for marriage?
All of these things are very, very, very important. And in lower down, I had a couple items that I made mention of. Let me see. Where it speaks of your family. A lot of people always want to have one-on-one dates when they're courting, but it's important to involve your family, your friends. Let your potential spouse know who your circle is. And when you do things like that, you can come over, they can cook for you. You know, you get to interact with the brothers and sisters, see the type of people that you will be married into. Would you be able to deal with these? Do they give old jokes? Can you deal with that kind of environment? Are they a rowdy bunch and all of that? And by doing these things, because I always encourage any young person, if you intend to marry somebody, every now and then go to each other's homes when the family is there, have a lunch or something like that. Make sure it's not her mother that cook. You can see her in the kitchen too, probably doing something, because a lot of people do that. I knew a friend of mine, the young lady always used to bring him lunch. And all to know is her mother that prepared the food. She could not boil water to save her life. And he never knew, because he always got his nice container, well packaged. So it's good to meet in the environment, see that she's in the kitchen too, cooking something for you instead of her parents doing it and you come to the lunch. Come early, half an hour, and see what's happening. You know, all these ways you can observe, and observation is very, very important. The one-on-one is okay, but it's good to be in the environment, be informal, and it gives you a different perspective of the individual, because people tend to be on their best behavior when it's just you. But when you catch them unawares, it's good to see the type of individual that they are. So that's my take on that.
Alrighty, I love the discussion. I'm going to allow you to go further with your presentation, Lydia, because I see some valid points out there. So I'm gonna allow you to go ahead with that. And of course, if Alex or Pastor Martin, if you wish to interject, just feel free to do so. Is that okay, Sister Lydia?
That's definitely correct. That's fine. So I just came up with a few basic rules, which I think that anybody who intends to be in a committed relationship, which is a courtship, in my books, should comply with. You only court one person at a time. Some people tend to mix up courting and dating, when dating it's not as serious as the courtship. In the courtship, you identify that Sister Jane is who I intend to spend my life with, so you are committed to her, and let us see how these things go. There's no more shopping around. You know what your intentions are, and you pursue that. In our society and even in the church, something I've always also noticed is that our sisters pursue the brothers. It's supposed to be the other way around. Even though women feel that inclination to do that, even though you feel like they say the vibe from the brother, do not be forward so much to initiate anything. Allow him. You can probably send out subtle signals, but I think it's the man's duty to initiate the friendship, the conversation, the talk, and all of that. Probably meet the parents, tell them of the intention rather than you ask him to go and do that. And a lot of that tends to happen. We must give our men the opportunity to feel that they are men and they are in charge of certain things, and they should be the one leading the relationship rather than the women on the other end. Because I think when we start off that way, it will give the men an opportunity to be men in their household rather than they let the ladies do whatever it is, and then you become frustrated because he does not want to take on the manly role because from the onset, the woman took it over. I mentioned about the family. They should be central. The courtship should always be public. A lot of people say they don't want people to know their business. And to an extent, I agree, because there are certain people that always like to be in people's business. But you cannot be so secretive with your relationship and you just hear Sister Joe was checking Brother Joe and they're getting married next week. You didn't give anybody an opportunity to observe the two of you, and probably people on the outside, well-meaning people, I always stress on well-meaning people, can provide guidance. Certain attitudes or characters you may not be aware of, they may be able to point it out. But when your relationship is so secretive that no one knows, you don't have that opportunity. Everything is solely based on you. Another part of the courtship, you should all have it a mix. Engage not only on the one-on-one date, but have couples and family and friends activities. For our people, since we don't believe in premarital sex, limiting as much as the one-on-one or having the one-on-one dates so secluded, it's best to have your one-on-one dates in a public setting and encourage a lot of group and interaction activities, so you limit the opportunity of any sexual activity or any temptations. Because when people tend to be in love, like they say, with each other, certain things that we know are wrong seems correct, and we may just bend for the moment and somehow believe that it is okay because we will get married anyway. But that does always tend to cause a little problem later down in the marriage, because people don't wait, they rush, and it causes a little tension at times. So to avoid the sexual activity or sexual temptation, it's best to limit the dates to be in public. You can have your one-on-one, but in a public area where other people are around, to limit those. One of the most important things in courtship, you have to be honest. A lot of people believe if I say that, he will not like me so, and if he knew that about me, he would not look at me the same. I'm not saying there are certain deep-seated things that you probably should not divulge at the beginning when you're getting to know somebody, because they may not be prepared to deal with that. You can wait when your relationship is at a certain level, and if you know that whatever it is that you are holding on to will impact your relationship, it's best to be honest and say it up front, rather than the person gets to know way later and they conclude, if I knew that about you, I would not have married you. And that is the worst thing, to be in a relationship with somebody that regrets. So it's always best to be honest. Don't play games. Don't try to be something that you're not because you want to get married. So that's the type of person he likes or she likes, so I will play that role. You will not be able to keep up with it for the rest of your life. At a point in time, your true colors will show, so it's best you be honest from the get-go. And then I conclude with some simple don'ts. Don't try to be who you are not. Do not tell lies. Don't be in a hurry. Be ready to back out. That's a hard thing for certain people. They see the signs, but they think that they have invested so much in the relationship that they think if I marry him or her, it will get better and things will change. If you see certain attitudes that you cannot deal with, or certain things about the individual you cannot deal with, it's best to back out during the courting stage than live a regrettable relationship, or it ends up where you're split. Never tell your life stories up front. That's something I always tell people. It's true, it's a getting to know you stage, and it's a more emotional stage and a more intimate stage. Then you get to know deeper things about the people rather than their surface. I like green, I like blue, I like soup, things like that. You get to know the core of the individual, but you have to pace yourself. It's always best to give people a little bit of information, see how they react to it, and then you can give more and let them know who you are intimately rather than divulging your whole life in one go, and then you have the person really shocked and they couldn't digest all of that. So basically that's my do's and don'ts on courtship and general guidelines. So I'm up for questions or any concerns from anybody. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Sister Lydia. So much good information, do's and don'ts, and all of that good stuff. Let's talk. What's your take on it? What do you have to add, or what's the question that you have? Sister Lydia is going to answer them. I'm obviously not answering any questions, so go ahead, ask your questions. Or you could give your comments or whatever your take is on it. We're going to start with you, Alex. Your mic.
Like she said a little earlier, she said you shouldn't court unless your intention is to get married. I also wanted to throw in the age as well. Some people probably, for their own reason, they would decide like they wanted to start courting at, let's say, well, to each his own, 17. I don't think that's the best age. To me, I really don't think that's the best age to court. I believe it should be a little higher than that. Something like probably 19, 20, maybe even more. I would believe the older the better. That's just my take.
Yeah, courting and marriage should be for mature people. Like I said earlier, if you really are not settled in your mind as to what you're about, what you want, what your intentions are, you should not be pursuing a committed relationship at that age. Personally, people in their teens, I think you should try to get yourself organized, probably a career, finish your school, know what you're about, because moving from a home 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, even these days, for the majority of people, they are not ready. And when you find yourself in a marriage, it's a shock for a lot of them and they lash back. Why you want me to do that? But that is the role of a wife. This is the role of a husband. Why I have to do so many? And fellas, when the babies come in right away, it's a killer for a lot of people that are not prepared. So courting should be for mature people, mentally, emotionally, and physically. The whole of you should be mature to pursue a relationship like that. So I'm in totally agreement with you.
Pastor Martin.
Can I say something? Even just to add to what we were saying earlier on, when you choose to court at such a early age, you have not really decided what you wanted to do with your life. And at that time, like you said, your mind could not have settled on probably your career path and stuff of that sort. You're still growing. Basically, your mind is still growing. And I find the decisions you probably would have made at an earlier age, in your early 20s and in your teens and stuff like that, come when you turn like 28, 29, 30, you would be looking back, and you'd be like, I really made a stupid decision back then. something that would look really brilliant back then to you, but then now that you're 30, you look back and you say, but what was I thinking?
Thank you. Alex, jump in, Pastor Martin.
Yeah, just want to add on the point I was reading in terms of not being afraid to back out. And that's important, especially for us that have a particular conviction on marriage. It's important not to allow, not just you believing that things would change, but what I've realized is sometimes the peer pressure of the eyes that look at the relationship sometimes force persons to continue in a relationship that is not really healthy for them. So it means that that person needs to be mature in their mind and comfortable enough to know that it's better to start over than to be stuck in a marriage that could do more harm mentally, even sometimes physically, than good. So that's a crucial point that person should note before saying I do. Because most times marriage exposes and amplifies what was already there. So don't believe that it will change something. So before saying I do, make the correct decision. And as Sister Martha said, it should be prayerfully guided by God's direction.
Thank you so much. I'm going to give Sister Martha the privilege to give her closing words, and all of you are going to have, please conserve our time as we are running coming to the end of the video. So each of you are going to have a minute to give your closing words, and then we're going to bring this video to its end.
Okay, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to share the knowledge that I have with you. I trust that the little information that I provided was a blessing to you, and you can use the information and pass it on to others as well on how to possibly make their courtships a lot better. We live in a world where people don't take marriage as serious as it should be, but we as people of God should decide that marriage is a beautiful thing. But if we have the correct partner, it's all worthwhile. So courting is very, very important. Get to know the person. Exclude sex, because even our people find themselves in there and their relationship is more sexual than getting to know the individual. So their marriage is just built on that. But we need friendship, we need commitment, we need understanding, we need communication. All of this during courtship for our marriages to be successful and blessed by God. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alex.
For me, what I'd have to say is that before you choose your partner that you're going to court with, I think you should be attracted to that person emotionally, physically, intellectually, spiritually. So all the earlies, make sure you have that on deck.
Thank you, Alex. Pastor Martin.
Godly intentions will produce godly relationships.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, viewers, for looking at this video. There's so much information there. I would advise that you just grab a pen and paper and just jot down all these points, because let me tell you, I did just that. All this good information cannot go to waste. So it will be in your best interest. It will be in your best interest to write it down, save it, or save it in the memory bank of your mind. That's even better. Thank you so much for watching, and do all the good stuff. Like, share, subscribe, and tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.